Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we're exploring something really interesting, I think. A book called You Become What You Think.
Hmm,
Now, this isn't just, one person's take. It's more like a synthesis, drawing from hundreds of other books on personal growth, happiness, mental well-being.
that's right. Our source for this deep dive, it's like getting the highlights from a massive reading list, all boiled down.
Okay.
The whole point is to cut through the clutter and pull out the most, well, impactful and actionable stuff
Okay.
to help you figure out what's really key for your own self-discovery, your own transformation.
Right. And it kicks off with a pretty fundamental idea, doesn't it? The power of our thinking. There's that Buddha quote right at the start.
All that we are is the result of what we have thought. Yeah, that really sets the stage.
It does.
The source makes it clear your thoughts aren't just happening to you, they're active. They shape how you see things, your emotions, what you do. Basically, your reality.
So learning to sort of watch our thoughts, that's the key, like mindfulness.
Exactly, like Buddha taught. By observing them, you gain this ability to consciously, steer away from the negative loops and aim for more positive outcomes.
Our internal world, creating our external one, the big idea. Where does it go from there?
Well, it jumps right into something that trips so many of us up,
Mm-hmm.
our relationship with time. Regret about the past, anxiety about the future.
Yeah, being stuck in those two places.
Right, which holds us back.
And it brings in Eckhart Tolle heavily. Realize deeply that the present moment is all you have. That line really landed for me.
It's simple but profound, isn't it?
Yeah,
The past is done. The future isn't here yet. All that energy spent worrying or regretting. It's energy you can't use now.
right. You can't actually live or make progress if you're stuck there.
Exactly. Worrying about next week's presentation doesn't write the slides. Regretting yesterday doesn't fix it. Life happens now. Change happens now.
So the takeaway is clear, even if it's challenging to practice. Live in the now. Keep pulling your focus back.
Precisely. It's like a muscle you have to build.
Mm.
And speaking of things that are challenging, the book uses this really interesting concept for dealing with pain. The two darts.
Ah, yes, the two darts. I found that really helpful. The first dart is the stuff you can't avoid.
Yeah, that's life throwing things at you. Rejection, loss, failure. That's the first dart. It's just the inherent pain of living. It happens.
But the second dart, that's the one we throw at ourselves.
That's the kicker. It's our reaction, the anger, the obsession, the replaying it over and over, the what ifs. That's the second dart.
And the source ties this into Stoicism, right? Saying a lot of our suffering comes from resisting what we can't change.
Absolutely. Eckhart Tolle says, all negativity is caused by an accumulation of psychological time and denial of the present. We get stuck in that second dart territory, denying the now.
So the first dart's pain is mandatory, but the second dart's suffering is optional. That's a game changer if you can internalize it.
It really is. Rick Hanson's quote highlights this too. Only we humans worry about the future, regret the past, and blame ourselves for the present.
It puts our own self-inflicted suffering into perspective.
It does. So the action here is recognize the first dart, accept it, do what you need to do about it, heal, learn, whatever, and then consciously let go. Don't keep stabbing yourself with that second dart of resistance.
Remember that Marcus Aurelius quote, too. When you arise in the morning, think of what a precious privilege it is to be alive. That privilege is now.
Exactly. It brings you back to the present.
Okay, but how do you stop throwing that second dart? It feels so automatic sometimes. The book suggests observing your mind.
Yeah, observing without judgment. It mentions this technique, asking yourself, what will my next thought be?
Huh. How does that work?
Well, it's sort of inspired by the quantum Zeno effect idea that observing something keeps it in place. Here, it's not literally freezing thoughts, but it interrupts the automatic flow. It creates a space.
A gap, so you become aware of the process instead of just being swept along.
Exactly. You're shining a light on the autopilot. Just acknowledging the thought process starts to give you some agency.
Okay.
And the second part is key. No judgment. You notice the negativity, the fear, whatever it is, but you don't beat yourself up for having the thought. You observe it, acknowledge it, and choose not to fuel the suffering.
And be kind to yourself about past actions, too. Louise L. Hay's quote is great. Remember, you've been criticizing yourself for years and it hasn't worked. Try approving of yourself.
Right. Self-compassion is huge in disarming that second dart, which ties into the next idea, composure.
Composure. I always thought that meant, hiding your emotions, keeping a stiff upper lip.
That's the common idea, but the source presents it differently. It's not about suppressing emotions. It's about being mindfully aware of them.
Aware, how so?
Letting yourself actually feel the emotion, joy, sadness, whatever, letting it sink in for a moment, but critically, without letting it become your permanent identity or dictating a huge permanent reaction.
Okay, so feel it, acknowledge it, but don't let it completely hijack you or force a knee-jerk response.
Exactly. Think of it like a mental reset button. You can feel thrilled about a success without then needing constant more success to feel okay. Or feel down without deciding you're fundamentally flawed.
You feel the feeling, but you don't become the feeling.
Precisely. Anne Frank's quote about writing to shake things off, that's acknowledging feelings without being buried. And Bernie Siegel warned against burying feelings becoming a graveyard.
So the actionable takeaway is, allow yourself to feel fully, but without judgment, and practice letting those feelings pass through you instead of taking root.
Yes, which connects nicely to non-attachment and spirituality. The book talks about how attaching too strongly to material things increases suffering.
Because when we define ourselves by my things, we give them power over us.
Exactly. And since everything material changes or disappears eventually,
Yeah.
well, you're setting yourself up for loss and sadness.
So decluttering could actually be a mental exercise too, not just about tidying up.
It can be. It helps regulate your sense of self, making it less dependent on external stuff. The takeaway is to practice finding happiness just being you, not based on what you have or what others expect.
Naval Ravikant's quote nails this. A fit body, a calm mind, a house full of love, these things cannot be bought, they must be earned.
Such a great quote. They come from within or through connection, not from shopping.
And the book stresses that spirituality isn't necessarily about religion.
Not at all. It highlights the Dalai Lama's focus on compassion and kindness, and that Ella Wheeler Wilcox line, while just the art of being kind is all the sad world needs. Powerful stuff.
It's about finding meaning and connection through practices that work for you, like meditation, nature, creativity.
Right. The key is finding practices actual actions, not just beliefs that ground you and bring you genuine happiness. Parthasarathi pointed out that a lot of religious practice can become just parroting without that deep personal work.
Which brings us back to change. Heraclitus. No man ever steps in the same river twice. Change is the only constant.
And the Dalai Lama points out, resisting that fundamental truth is a major source of suffering. We cling to the past or our idealized future instead of accepting the now.
So the action is acceptance, especially when things are painful. Resisting persists. Letting go brings clarity and happiness.
It's acknowledging the constant flux. But Heraclitus also said, day by day, what you think and what you do is who you become. And Buddha reminds us, small moments matter. One moment can change a day. Even amidst change, our present actions shape everything.
Okay, let's shift to building inner strength. The book spends a lot of time on Stoicism. I found this fascinating, how relevant this ancient philosophy feels today.
It really is. The Stoics, Seneca, Epictetus, Marcus Aurelius, they saw the mind as our most valuable asset. Cultivating a strong, peaceful mind was, for them, the only way to handle life's ups and downs.
Philosophy is a practical tool, not just theory.
Exactly. A cluttered, reactive mind just can't find calm. Seneca warns against putting life off, urging us to live immediately. Very much echoes that live in the now idea. And their core principle, focus only on what you can control.
Which is?
Your thoughts, your judgments, your values, your actions. Everything else, external events, other people, the future, is outside your control. Epictetus put it bluntly.
Yeah.
Happiness comes from ceasing to worry about things beyond our will.
He had that breakdown, right? The uneducated blame others, learners blame themselves. The educated blame no one.
Right. Because the educated person understands the limits of their control.
So a key Stoic practice is just constantly recognizing that boundary. This is mine, that isn't.
Yes. And tied to that is their idea of predeterminism, accepting that some external outcomes might be set by forces beyond us. It's not fatalism, but a way to accept things without that second dart of suffering.
Okay, so the actionable takeaway. Accept what you can't change. Focus your energy where it matters on your own responses.
They also really emphasized relationships. Seneca advised choosing friends based on virtue, not potential gain. True friends inspire you to be better.
Quality over quantity. Better few good friends than many shallow ones.
Exactly. So the takeaway is, choose friends wisely. Seek out those who uplift you, as Epictetus said, and let go of relationships that drag you down or are purely transactional.
And they called the mind our only true possession.
Yes. Possessions, even our bodies, are temporary, on loan. They shouldn't dictate our inner peace. True freedom comes from mastering the mind, confronting inner fears. Adversity wasn't just endured, it was seen as training for the mind.
Viewing life as a gift, staying humble, that frees you.
Right, so the action is, work on your inner world. Don't let externals overly influence your mental state. Practice gratitude. Remember Epictetus saying nobody can damage him unless he lets them. That's inner control.
They also aimed for simplicity and peace through reason.
Rational thinking was key. Wisdom helps us understand nature, our own, and the world so we can live in harmony, not fighting what we can't control. Enjoy good things, but know they can disappear.
Don't base your whole happiness on them.
Precisely. Actionable takeaway. Simplify. Reduce reliance on unnecessary things. Practice living with less. And mentally prepare for hardship. The premeditatio malorum. It builds resilience. Seneca. True happiness is to enjoy the present. The greatest wealth is a contented mind.
And finally, their dedication to truth over external approval.
Yeah, focus on objective truth, not popular opinion. Avoid excessive wealth as a distraction. Be honest. Avoid rationalizing deceit.
So, the takeaway: cultivate silence, ground thoughts in truth, question narratives. Epictetus said focus on not telling lies, not on what others think.
This solid Stoic foundation flows right into how we handle our own mental health, which the book explores next.
It makes the point that low moods often lead to choices that keep us feeling low, like reaching for comfort food instead of going for a walk.
It's that self-defeating cycle, yeah. Hard to make good choices when you're down.
So the advice is to make choices based on personal values, not temporary emotions.
That's a powerful shift. Your values act as a compass. What's truly important are your actions aligned. Identifying them gives you a framework, especially when emotions are turbulent.
So the actionable step is figure out your values, see if you're living them, and maybe commit to one small daily action that is aligned no matter how you feel.
Exactly. And Dr. Julie Smith reminds us, everyone has low days. Her suggestion to list how you'd act if the mood issue wasn't there, that shifts focus to solutions.
And self-compassion again. Treat yourself like a friend.
Crucial. Don't let the inner critic run wild.
Okay, now stress. The book says stress is not the enemy. That sounds wrong.
I know, right? But the idea is that moderate stress, the cortisol response, can actually be motivating. A meaningful life involves challenges, which means some stress. You can't really separate them, as Dr. Smith points out.
It's the chronic, unrelenting stress that's the problem. Burnout, physical issues.
That's the harmful kind. So the takeaway isn't to eliminate stress, but to harness it. Balance stress with rest and recovery. Prioritize self-care as essential energy replenishment, not a luxury. And connection with others is a huge buffer.
And happiness, it's presented as just an emotion, like sadness or anger, not a permanent state to achieve.
Right. Russ Harris compares emotions to weather always changing. Chasing constant happiness can actually make you feel worse when you inevitably feel something else. Dr. Julie Smith agrees.
So the goal shouldn't be 247 happiness.
Seems not. Instead, focus on your values. They provide meaning and motivation even during tough times when happiness isn't present. And remember Dr. Smith's point. Thoughts are not facts. Choosing which thoughts to believe gives you power over your feelings.
The book also connects past experiences like childhood trauma to present habits, drawing on Louise Hay.
Yes. While you can't change the past, you can change your reaction and perspective now. Self-destructive patterns often stem from low self-worth or shame, but those patterns aren't you.
So Louise Hay's core message: learn to love yourself. Practice self-acceptance, gratitude, simple things like affirming yourself in the mirror.
And forgiveness is key here too. Forgiving yourself, forgiving others. It's about letting go of the anger and resentment that keeps you stuck in the past. It takes practice.
Commit to it. Hay suggests saying who you forgive aloud, repeatedly, until it feels real. Feel that warmth.
Making it an active process. And shifting perspective applies to relationships too, how they often mirror our inner state. Childhood patterns can repeat if we don't build self-worth.
And it applies to current problems too. Are they objectively bad, or is your perspective magnifying them? Work, appearance, even physical pain.
The takeaway: practice appreciation, even for difficult people. Try to understand their perspective without excusing bad behavior. It dissolves resentment.
Lastly, on mental health, Alfred Adler's idea about competitive mindsets being harmful.
That comparison is the thief of joy idea. Modern life pushes competition, but constantly measuring yourself against others leads to anxiety and feeling inadequate.
So the action is to cooperate more. See life as a team sport.
Yes, shared accomplishment builds real self-esteem. Embrace an abundance mindset. There's enough success for everyone. Focus on your own improvement, not beating others. Be open to feedback as a gift for growth.
Okay, let's shift gears into human psychology, why we tick the way we do. The book says we often prefer feeling right over being right.
Our beliefs get tangled up with our identity. Challenging them feels personal. Emotional bias rules. The book mentions those thinking modes: preacher, prosecutor, politician, and scientist.
The scientist mode, questioning, testing, revising, that's the one linked to success, like innovative founders.
Exactly. Clinging to old beliefs holds us back. Think BlackBerry missing the smartphone wave?
So the actionable takeaway: try to adopt that scientist mindset more often. Value evidence over assumptions. Create a culture where questioning is okay, even encouraged.
Which requires what Adam Grant calls confident humility.
Confident humility, meaning
Being sure enough to act, but humble enough to know you might be wrong and need to learn. Daniel Kahneman said being wrong is the only way he knows he's learned something. It's about cognitive flexibility.
being willing to revise your view actually makes you more accurate. And building trust helps people accept necessary change. Sometimes emphasizing what won't change helps too.
Right, so the action. Define yourself by values, not opinions. Actively seek out people who will challenge your thinking, a challenge network.
The book contrasts Freud and Adler on the past's influence. Freud saw it as destiny. Adler thought we could change our style of life anytime.
The key difference is the belief in the possibility of change. Adler believed you weren't locked in by your past.
Actionable takeaway: you control your destiny now. Focus on the present. Happiness is an inside job. As Tolstoy said, everyone wants to change the world. Nobody wants to change themselves.
Then there's Cialdini on social influence. The rule of reciprocation, getting a free sample, makes you feel obligated.
Businesses use that constantly. And the consistency principle: commit to something small, then feel pressure to agree to something bigger. The foot in the door.
Actionable takeaway: awareness. Pause before automatically reciprocating or escalating commitment. Ask, do I really want this, or am I just reacting to the principle? Cialdini notes our actions reveal more than our words.
Scarcity is another big one. Fear of missing out. FOMO.
Limited time offers, only few left. They work because loss aversion is powerful, especially when scarcity feels sudden or involves competition, like auctions.
And social proof: doing things because others are. Laugh tracks, bestseller labels.
Actionable takeaway: recognize these triggers: scarcity, social proof. Step back. Is this genuine desire, or are you being manipulated by these psychological shortcuts?
Then there's authority and likability.
We buy from people we like. Salespeople use flattery, find common ground. We assume attractive people are smarter or nicer. And we tend to obey authority figures, even if we don't like the command. Cult leaders often exploit these.
Actionable takeaway: be wary of excessive niceness or flattery in sales. Does the request align with your values, regardless of who's asking or how charming they seem?
Then Kahneman's thinking: fast and slow. System 1, fast, intuitive, emotional, automatic. System 2, slow, deliberate, logical.
System 1 gives quick impressions. System 2 analyzes. But System 1 is prone to biases, confirmation bias, halo effect. Our brains like shortcuts.
Critical for big decisions, especially financial ones. Actionable takeaway: don't let System 1 run the show alone. Engage System 2. Examine things objectively. Use reason. Kahneman stresses how hard it is to change a System 1 judgment.
And our beliefs are shaped by memory's narrative.
Yeah, confidence often rests in the story's coherence, not the evidence. System 1 finds patterns based on recognition. System 2 is needed for real problem solving. Biases creep in. Relying only on the remembering self is flawed.
Kahneman's two selves: remembering self and experiencing self.
Remembering self, often System 1, curates memories, shapes our narrative. Experiencing self, more System 2, lives in the present, evaluates info. But memory isn't a perfect recording. Rationality needs both informed intuition and reason. System 1 uses the affect heuristic, letting feelings guide decisions. Facts might not change beliefs rooted in experience.
Actionable takeaway: stay open. Challenge your own narratives. Kahneman says System 1 values internal consistency over truth. Acknowledge the power of personal experience bias.
And Adam Grant again. Welcome being proved wrong. That's wisdom. Progress relies on challenging norms.
Distinguish beliefs from facts. Intelligence can even hinder if it leads to quick stereotyping. Separate identity from beliefs. Rigidity means missed chances.
Regular life checkups are important. Actionable takeaway: practice rethinking. Seek out opposing views. Test them. Be open to changing your mind. Schedule those life checkups to reassess and adjust.
Okay, the final major theme: Suffering, meaning, and acceptance, especially through Viktor Frankl's work.
Frankl's man's search for meaning, based on his Holocaust experience. It's incredibly powerful. He observed that, paradoxically, a kind of indifference to death was crucial for survival for some.
Indifference, how?
After the initial shock, an apathy set in. Those who rigidly fought the reality often broke. Those who somehow surrendered to the present horror, finding this apathy, could endure. Accepting the possibility of death gave a strange kind of courage. Resistance made them more vulnerable.
Acceptance as a survival mechanism in extremity. Wow.
And his core insight, meaning isn't given, it's created by you. Through your choices, your actions, your attitude.
You have to actively find it, even in suffering. Resist escapism. He found his own meaning focusing on love for his wife, his future work.
Exactly. Even when everything is taken, you retain the freedom to choose your attitude, to find meaning. That power remains.
So Frankl's actionable takeaway is perhaps the ultimate distillation. If you can't change the situation, change yourself.
His words nail it. Everything can be taken from a man but one thing, the last of the human freedoms to choose one's attitude. And when we are no longer able to change a situation, we are challenged to change ourselves. It loops right back to the power of our thoughts, our internal choices.
Wow, what a journey. We've gone from the power of thought and the present moment, through handling pain, building habits, dealing with money and time pressures, understanding our own psychology, tapping into stoic strength, nurturing mental health, and finding meaning even in the absolute worst circumstances.
It really does all come back to the mind, doesn't it? Your perceptions, reactions, choices. This source, by pulling together so much wisdom, offers a kind of map for navigating it all.
Yeah, this deep dive aimed to give you a shortcut to those core ideas, hopefully triggering some insights and offering real, practical steps.
Definitely. And think about everything we've covered. That thoughts shape reality, that we're always changing, that happiness is just an emotion, that embracing change is key.
Yeah.
Here's a final thought. If you become what you think, but you're also constantly changing, and you have this power to choose your attitude, what does it really mean to know yourself? And maybe more importantly, what reality are you actively building with your thoughts right now?
Something to chew on. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive. We'll catch you next time.